it has certainly been a hot minute since we've looked at a Universal Monster film, hasn't it? And again, I apologize, it was not meant to end up getting delayed again. But this is October, and October is like hell bent on driving me as batty as possible. Get it? Yeah, bad puns. I got plenty. So, without further ado or delay, let's go ahead and dive into the next installment in the Universal Monsters Pantheon with the third Frankenstein film, Son of Frankenstein. This is a movie that used to be lambasted, maligned, and hated for a grand majority of people. Not only in the horror community, but just in general film study. However, the good news is that over the years, it has gotten a lot more appreciation, and that there are some that consider it the best of the entire trilogy, and the best of the entire Frankenstein series. While I wouldn't quite go that far because of how much I adored Bride, it is a very close second. This is a great movie, even if it does have its fair share of weird problems. But still, I still really love this movie, and I still have a lot to say. So let's start, of course, with some production notes, some background and trivia. After the dissolve of the Lend-Lease with Universal and the British embargo on American horror films in 1936, Karloff and Lugosi both found themselves in a career slump. For 2 years, horror films were out of the new Universal Studios lineup. Then finally, on April 5th of 1938, a nearly bankrupt theater in Los Angeles staged a desperate stunt by booking Frankenstein, Dracula, and King Kong on a triple bill. The result became a phenomenon, and soon Universal decided to make a big-budget version of the next Frankenstein sequel. As director James Whale was similarly in a slump and did not wish to make any more horror films, Universal instead selected Roland V. Lee to direct Son. Lee's film explores dramatic themes of family, security, isolation, responsibility, and father-son relationships, and it does all of them pretty well. Son of Frankenstein marks changes in the monster's character from Bride of Frankenstein. This is one of my only problems with the movie. The monster is now duller, no longer speaks, and wears a giant fur vest that was not seen in the first two movies at all. He is fond of Igor, the new character, and obeys his orders. Unlike the previous two films, the monster only shows humanity in two scenes. First, when he discovers Igor's body, letting out a powerful scream, because the two of them had a genuine friendship. And later, when he contemplates killing Peter, but ends up changing his mind. Peter Lorre was originally cast as Wolf von Frankenstein, but he had to lead the production when he became ill. Replacing Lorre was Basil Rathbone, who scored a major triumph as Sir Guy of Gisborne in The Adventures of Robin Hood. According to the documentary Universal Horror 1998, the film was intended to be shot in color. Test shooting took place, but the monster's makeup did not look good enough, and the idea was abandoned. However, color clips of Boris Karloff in the monster makeup clowning around are included in the documentary, which is interesting. And that's pretty much all the background there is for this movie. So I'll go straight into the cast now and what I think of each actor. Basil Rathbone as Wolf von Frankenstein is genuinely fantastic. Probably my favorite role he's ever played. Because he has to both deal with the vitriol of the townspeople, he has to be a good father, and he has to try to restore the shamed family name. So he has a lot to juggle in this movie, not to mention having to have Igor talking on his back the entire time, like a devil on his shoulder, because Igor's the only one that can control the monster. And speaking of the monster, Boris Karloff is still really good in here, but there's a problem with the character himself, and that is that he doesn't really get to do a whole lot. He's back to being a mute, he's back to being dull, he wears a fur coat for pretty much no reason, even though Igor tries to say that he was hunting, which, I mean, that's all the explanation that we get. And speaking of Igor, Bela Lugosi as Igor is the best part of this entire movie. Like, no offense to Basil, Boris, or Lionel Atwell, but Bela is amazing in this role. Like, Lugosi, this is arguably his best role ever, as this very, very creepy, screwed up character that literally could not be hanged. Like, they broke his neck, but he did not die. That in itself is a freaky concept, and they even have makeup that shows that. Very, very well. And seeing Igor using the monster to get revenge on all the jurors that had him hanged in the first place, genuinely creepy. And it does have a good bit of suspense all throughout as the bodies begin to pile up. And that's when Inspector Crow, played by Lionel Atwill, comes into play. Because Lionel has a story that the monster ripped one of his arms off. Yeah, you can see how I can maybe relate to that. And the way that he tells Wolf this entire story is really, really creepy. And not to mention, probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, excluding the stuff with Eeyore, is that final confrontation / interrogation between Inspector Crow and Wolf. Like, it is such an incredible scene with some great, great dialogue. And then everyone else is okay. Josephine Hutchinson as Elsa is fine. Donnie Donegan as Peter is fine. Emma Dunn as Amelia is fine. Edgar Norton as Thomas Benson is fine. Oh wait, one thing I forgot to point out. Donnie Donegan is also the voice of Kid Bambi. Yeah, interesting when you learn that, isn't it? Perry Ivans as Fritz, not the same Fritz that got killed in the original Frankenstein, it's a different Fritz, is fine. Lawrence Grant as the Burgermeister is fine. Lionel Belmore is fine. Michael Mark is fine. Caroline Francis Cook is fine. Most people are fine in here. And then for some reason, Dwight Fry is also in there somewhere as a villager. It's weird how he keeps showing up in all these Frankenstein movies despite his character literally dying in the first movie. So, yeah. But the big stars of this movie are Basil, Boris, Bela, and Lionel. These four carry the entire movie. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and get straight into final thoughts now, because apparently that's all the background that we're going to get on this. So, if you can give me a minute to pull this up here. Yeah, a bit of a quicker review than the one in Bride, because it doesn't have as much background info. Because you're going to notice very quickly that the Silver Age movies in the Universal horror cycle don't have a whole lot of background information about them. They kind of just exist. Which is sad, but it also kind of makes sense. So, here's my final thoughts for Son of Frankenstein. While we may be finished with the golden era of the Universal horror cycle, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own gems among the slow beginning of the downfall. Yeah, this is when we start getting the slow decline of these movies, leading into its ultimate end right before the 1950s. Case in point, the third Frankenstein movie, which is actually so good that it's in competition with Bride for the best movie in the series. For most people. For me, it's just barely under Bride, and it's because I love what they did with the monster in Bride. Basil Rathbone is fantastic as Wolf von Frankenstein as he goes through a reluctant but fascinating arc that mirrors his father's from the previous films quite well. Story, while a bit convoluted, is very engaging and entertaining. Boris Karloff continues to be superb as the monster in his final movie as the character. Final as in the actual, Frankenstein movies. The last time we actually see him play this character in another movie is in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which we will talk about much later in this marathon. Trust me, we are not skipping that one. But in terms of the actual mainline continuity of Frankenstein, this is the last time Karloff plays the role. Which is interesting, to say the very least. The set design is the best yet, one of the best laboratory sets in all film. It's so engaging and well done. The writing and dialogue is top-notch. Some of the writing and some of the lines said in this movie, genuinely chilling. It's really, really good all throughout. Some of the best writing in Universal's entire catalog is in this movie. It's very well paced. The runtime is longer than all the previous ones at 99 minutes, allowing for more substantial storytelling rather than being, brisk, fast, one and done like the previous movies. Rewatchability is incredibly high, and of course the best part of the entire movie, Bela Lugosi's legendary performance as Igor, which is arguably the best role of his entire career. However, it's got some huge continuity holes, such as the monster being unable to speak again for no reason, Igor explaining nothing about how the monster survived the ending of Bride or how he became its friend, or how it even learned how to hunt. Like, a lot of this movie's stuff is very loosely connected to Bride. Like, very, very loosely. So in terms of actual connectivity to Bride, it really dropped the ball. Also, the ending is kind of rushed, where Wolf shoots down Igor, but he doesn't die because he comes back in the next one. And then he kicks the monster into a pool of molten sulfur, which earns him the thanks to the townspeople as he and his family decide to move out of the castle and off to somewhere else. And we never see any of these characters again. You're going to hear me say that a lot in the rest of these Frankenstein movies because they keep switching people out left and right. Overall, though, despite all that, this is still a classic and a great threequel for the Frankenstein series. Not to mention, it's one of those movies that doesn't suffer from the number 3 curse of being terrible, regardless of its lapses in continuity. And thankfully, it's been getting a lot more appreciation in recent years to the horror community after spending so many decades being lambasted as one of the worst threequels ever made. I'm sorry, I've seen far worse Part 3s in franchises than this. It's definitely worth a watch. If you for some reason have not seen Son of Frankenstein because you've heard of its vitriol and bile that's been spat at it, ignore that and just watch the movie for yourself. Yes, continuity-wise, it is a bit of a mess, but in terms of actual entertainment value, it is still more than worth your time. It's got great writing, it's got great effects, it's got a great character in Igor, played by Bela Lugosi, and just a lot of really interesting dialogue and story beats all throughout. Sure, it's not like the most reinventing the wheel kind of thing like the previous 2 movies were, but it's still a damn good movie in its own right, and considering the fact that this is one that doesn't have any Mary Shelley source material to work off of, it's impressive that what they were able to achieve for the time period. And because of that, my final verdict for Son of Frankenstein is going to be a high, well-deserved, but not quite perfect, 9.5 out of 10. If you have not seen this movie yet, definitely check it out. It is more than worth your time. Like, I don't think it's better than Bride. Bride's still the best of the series, in my opinion, but Son is still a really close second. It's a great film, and if you haven't seen it yet, you definitely need to check it out. Yes, it is more of a chiller than a horror film, but it's still part of the Universal Monsters. It's still part of the Frankenstein series, so I say it still counts. It's still a pretty good movie, and I definitely recommend you give it a watch if you haven't already. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. Feel free to hit the hype button if you also so desire to get this higher up in the algorithm. And I will see you guys next time for... what was next? A very weird one. I'll see you next time for a very weird, kind of sort of not sequel in Invisible Man Returns. Which, I mean, its title is a lie, but we'll talk all about it next time.